What's up, golf friends? This is Jim Colton, and this is the Driven Golf Podcast. This is episode 41, and this is the opening tee shot brought to you by our friends at Strakaline. Just a friendly reminder, use the code DRIVEN, DRIVEN, to get 20% off your yardage book. I am here with YouTube Golf's latest rising star. Fully expect to see him in next year's Creator Classic. The super producer slash super looper, Joseph K. How's it going, JK?
Hey, what's up, Jim? That's quite the intro there. I appreciate that.
Well,
Yeah, we
man, you
had
got
a
a you got a lot to live up to. Big day today.
yeah, yeah, we got to see the final awaited version of the fried egg golf video here at Fields Ranch. Luckily, it's in our backyard. We've got a major championship venue right here in our backyard in Frisco. So got to be a part of that. Andy Johnson with the fried egg, former guest of the Driven Golf Podcast. Had a little match with your son Luke Colton, and what a better looper on the bag for Colton than Bones. So that was awesome, man.
Well, you were right there. You had a front row seat, not only to watch the match, but you were an active participant. You caddied for Andy, and this was Friday's golf series they've been doing, digging into design, with some really cool. I mean, guesses. I guess this is the last segment of this season. They had Tom Doak on. They went to the park in West Palm Beach. You may recall Andy and Shane Bacon had a match, like Hickories versus traditional clubs out in North Carolina. Just really, really kind of interesting twist, like highlighting, like using fun and creative opportunities to highlight some of these designs. And like you said, Bones was out at the senior PGA broadcasting for NBC a couple years ago, and he gave his input on like what it would take and what he would look for as a caddy trying to relay these messages on to the players. Kind of, you know, we don't really see new championship major venues that often. So what does that look like, especially on a course that's probably different than many championship courses that they hold majors on? And like you said, it's in our backyard, kind of like near and dear to our heart because I think that's how we ended up crossing paths just a few years ago. So pretty neat to see all of this kind of coming together. And I would say, as guys who take the caddy profession seriously, it ain't no hobby. It is kind of a hobby for us, but it ain't no hobby in terms of our level of dedication to the craft. You being, be able to spend 4 or 5 hours or whatever with really one of the all-time great caddies and most well-known caddies in golf history. What was that experience like? What were some of your key takeaways, and then I'll give you some of mine.
Yeah, he put on an absolute masterclass. I think Fried Egg did a little bit on his rake job there. That was pretty cool to see. But just yeah, like you said, just having one of the greatest of all time to loop alongside him, and I was really just kind of soaking it all in and listening to all the great stories he had. And he had a great couple of takeaways about Fields Ranch in particular. Just you have to be strategic out there. You have to, it looks like a wide open course, but depending on wind and all these other factors, how you're going to attack the golf course, you have to be strategic, and you have to be willing to put in your homework. I mean, you've got to. I think he touched on what the magic number is. 2 times you'd like to see the course when you've got a new championship course that you've never seen before. So I thought that was a good little takeaway. I also liked, I don't know if you caught Andy's wind meter that he kind of dropped on us. I think it was on hole 4 of
I
the
gotta
par
test
3.
it out. Yeah.
Yeah, when he said that, we all kind of stood there because it was pretty windy at the time, and we all kind of went through it, and we were like, yeah, I think this checks out. And Bones was even like, yeah, I've never heard of that before, but I like it. And so I've used it a few times now, and it's a pretty solid little thing we got going there. So credit to Andy for dropping some knowledge on us too.
you touched base on a little bit. I wanted to explore this a bit. Is you could tell in Bones' comments that came up time and time again in the video, and maybe stuff that's not even in that clip. But to him, the most important days are like the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Like it's almost like he barely even mentioned. The only times he mentioned like the tournament rounds was sort of in context of the practice rounds, and sort of I guess related to my second point around like, could you tell that like he never disagreed with his player. You
Yes,
know,
I did. I did notice that. Yeah.
he was always affirming his player's initial instincts, and then he would subtly kind of put his opinion in there. You know, it's like, oh, what do you think? 115 is like, yeah, I think 115 sounds great. Probably at a minimum. And then he would interject maybe 115 to 117. You know what I mean? Like he's getting his point across in very subtle ways. And I think if you watch the video, or if you haven't seen it yet, or watch it again, like you'll pick up on these little things and just see, I mean, that's just a pro's pro right there. Just like the craftsmanship around being able to get his point across, but never wanting to dilute the player's extreme confidence level around any shot at hand, right? I mean that has to come from just years of experience, obviously playing in caddy. I mean caddying for major championship winners and some of the all-time greats, really.
Yeah, that's a great point. And a couple of call outs that he had also as far as what to look for in an elite junior golfer is I thought he had two key takeaways is speed. You got to have speed and you got to have short game. And I think we saw both of those play out throughout the match. Andy got up to a quick jump, a quick lead, and then we saw the short game of Luke just slowly chip away, chip away, chip away, and kind of catch up to the match. So there's a lot of good takeaways in that. It's just the match play mindset. I think you saw Andy flash the camera the 3 sign, and I think at one point it was 4. So that's always the most dangerous lead in golf, right? The 4 up. So there was a lot of fun going on with that match. So yeah.
Yeah. I do think like look, and neither guy played probably up to their ability, but you couldn't tell. Obviously, they both wanted to win, right? But you couldn't tell from either one. Like they were enjoying the competition, enjoying each other's company, and just you could tell there's like Andy loves probably golf more than anybody I know, and I think like just seeing one of the things that I most enjoyed, just seeing the player who's obviously a high level player struggling, but it didn't impact his mood. Like we see a lot of this in junior and amateur golf, especially, and I'm sure it happens on tour too, where a guy who's playing poorly just like drags down the mojo of the entire threesome, right? And that obviously wasn't the case here. And look, like you said, it's match play. You get down, like there's a chance to get back in the match. There's plenty of time. Like you never saw this sort of panic, in that video. I thought that was cool. The one other thing that I sort of took away, and I've struggled with this caddying as well, for high level amateurs, is like not everybody sees putts the same way, you know. So I think like getting on the same page with your player, I think that you probably have a view on this as well. That's tough. It's one thing if you're caddying for a group of guys that just want to have a good time at PJ Frisco. Like you want to impart the knowledge and maybe the one time that they're ever playing the course. But obviously, like your tips, a lot of your tip is riding on how many birdie putts they might make, or if you give them a bad read or whatever. But it might be the perfect read, but it may not be exactly how they see things, or even like one ball out. Like what does one ball out mean? That sort of thing. So I think it was even on the first green, like Luke was talking with Bones about how you read putts, and Bones was saying, well, Mickelson liked it this way, JT likes it this way. But I don't think that the two of them in that one round really ever got aligned, and like you could just see that in some of the putting performance.
Yeah, Bones asked me at one point if the greens are always this grainy, and I just told him, yeah, this is how it is out here. It's always grainier than what you think, and there's always more break than what you think on those long lag putts. And I asked him,
Yeah.
is this do you see this at a normal tour stop, or is this pretty common other places? And he said, this is probably some of the most grain I've seen in greens in a long time. So definitely something to watch for if you're coming out to PGA Frisco. And if you need any advice, I'm happy to help.
Yeah, super looper on request. So really cool experience. Yeah, hopefully this is the first of many kind of cool opportunities. I really appreciate Andy. We got to spend some time with him while he was here in Frisco, and his crew, which just did a fantastic job with that series. And you could tell they'd really pour their heart and soul into making each one of these unique and memorable. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, agreed.
So it dovetails a little bit into this episode. I think this is going to be a popular episode amongst Vanderbilt fans. So we've got part two of the interview with Scott Limbaugh. So last time we talked about sort of his roots into coaching. This time we're really talking about his squad. They've had their ups and downs and some of the challenges of having a relatively young team this year. And then we recorded this, I think, back in early February, so it's been a little bit of a while. But yeah, I think it's really interesting. And then in angle of attack, somewhat related to this, is we talked with Andrew about like kind of when players level up, like the shock to the system, whether it be playing in your first, say, AJGA Invitational, or maybe even playing in front of the cameras for the first time, or guys that go from college to pro. And a lot of it is like you make a lot of these sort of rookie mistakes that you didn't at a junior level, maybe because you're making things bigger than they are, or you're kind of forgetting what got you there, and not staying true to the skills that you have. So we talk about some of those potential pitfalls, and look, like, guys don't ever solve. There's some guys that never solve that. They get to the next level and they're world beaters at a lower level, and they get to the next tier and they never get any better. They never quite figure it out. And that's unfortunate, but that's sort of the nature of the game. But I think what Andrew has some really good advice around kind of navigating that. And yeah, I think it applies in all different ways at all different levels of the game. So hopefully folks get a lot out of that. So anyways, this is really cool. Joseph, I look forward to seeing you at the Creator Classic next year, and bigger and better things for you. Hopefully you remember the little people as you go on to YouTube superstardom.
We'll see about that. Yeah. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Bones. That was fun. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you. There you go.
12 minutes.
That was good. I do think. I think Luke. He went to that USGA camp, like right after we got together, right? So I think it was right around that time.
Oh yes, when Andy was in town, talking about that. Yeah. That's right.
And they had the documentary crews out there, and the cameras in front of his face and stuff, and they were playing for they had playing for a qualifier spot in this Team Canada match that's coming up week after next, right? And Luke won the qualifier, right? So I think like,
so they got some content on that coming out.
I think so. They did it last year.
Okay.
They did a little series, but anyways, like I do think that these little things are related. You know what I mean? And I think even as a parent, quite frankly, it's easy to say like, oh, just treat every round the same, right? And that's so easy to say, and it's much more difficult to do. And sometimes you just need to be okay, just like knowing this may not go quite as smoothly as we would hope. As much as you talk about it, as much as you prepare for it, it might just be part of the journey. And I think just being okay with it, because like maybe we don't have enough foresight to see it through to the other side, but maybe there's like a bigger fish to fry that we don't always see. So I think we have to kind of let go at times.
Yeah, that's a good point. Getting in front of the cameras is going to be huge. I mean, when we were at the U.S. Junior and we saw the group following Charlie around, I was like, that. He's like, well, that's a lot of people, and I'm like, that's nothing. Get used to it. That's going to be That's going to be all the time. It's
Yeah.
it's not going away. So
Yeah.
yeah, the more exposure to that early on, the better, I think. And like you said, results aside, it's going to be building blocks.
Let's I don't know when we talked. Let's talk Charlie. Charlie had a darn good performance at the Junior Invitational.
Yeah, I think he I think, was it Rappaport or was it Brentley that basically said that he's just cemented his D1, like he's going to go play D1 golf. I think that's what we're dealing with here. This is not
Uh, yeah, I mean,
like
I never really questioned that, but I think I don't know. Like, look, like this is past the episode, but like we're just talking freely here. So one, like you've been around my kid. Like he can size up players pretty well.
yeah,
So if he says someone's good, that's I trust that implicitly. Like that's validation, right?
yeah.
And he said Charlie's good. So I do think look like he probably I mean he was the lowest I'll just say he was the lowest ranked kid in that tournament by a mile.
Sure.
And some people been out of shape around that, like he didn't deserve to be there, shouldn't be there. But like you look at every big junior tournament, every AJGA tournament, there's sponsors exemptions. There are like Sage Valley pays for to bring everybody there from all around the world. They pay for all their travel. They put them up for a week. They've been putting on this tournament for years, and they go way above and beyond, right? If they want to invite a kid, they can invite whoever they want, right? And honestly, if you are a Miles Russell or one of these top junior golfers, do you really care if the 36th spot is taken by Charlie Woods or anybody? You're not thinking about them, right? You're just thinking about winning the golf tournament. So, I think the alternative is that these tournaments never happen because, the venue will get a couple of spots or whatever the case may be. The sponsors will get a couple of spots. What if they just dried up, and the event never happened? Like, how is anyone better off? So I think like it's just, and it's kind of how the real world works, right? It's all about connections and look like I don't know, a perfect example. Like we were able to go see Oakland Hills last summer through connection that I had within the game. Not everybody has that, right? And there's other people that have access and opportunities and privileges that my kid could never dream of. But but at the end of the day, golf is probably one of the purest forms of meritocracy that exists in any sport or any facet of life, really, right? It's never going to be an equal playing field. But at the end of the day, you have this score, right? So, yeah, I would say like relish the opportunity to beat on somebody who beat somebody who maybe you don't think got, or maybe had some access or whatever got into the tournament that you didn't. Like, but in any case, like, I think people use that as an excuse or a reason to want to see Charlie Woods fail. I refuse to go there. I think if anything, like the advantages that Charlie has, which he has tremendous number of advantages, being Tiger's kid. It's a two-sided coin. It's two sides of the same coin. They're the same things that probably are some of the things that he is going to have to overcome that are limiting factors of him being successful. I think like a perfect example is Mav McNeely on PGA Tour. And if you ever see any sort of tweet about Mav McNeely, there will be people commenting, must be nice, have silver spoon, like, never had to work a day in his life, blah, blah, blah. He had to like grind his way through the ranks of like, he did the hard thing. like, sure, he had all sorts of opportunities and probably the best resources available, but I think he was pretty like lowly ranked at Stanford and has made himself into a PJ Tour player and a winner. Like he could have taken the easy way out at any point at that time and said, "Well, I'm just going to go work for my dad or whatever, or just like not work at all, just be a complete deadbeat, you know." So, so I think like, look, like this is just the way the world works. I think that in golf, like you just control what you can control and control the thing that's in front of you, which is like, what can I do to get better? And yeah, overcome some of the disadvantages or challenges or opportunities that other people have that you don't have. Like use that as motivation. I know, like use whatever you can, for motivation and to get better. That's fine. Like I don't know. No one's gonna feel sorry for you, and I don't know. So, anyways,
yeah,
I feel
great.
I feel pretty strongly about that. Honestly, it's
awesome.
kind of crazy. So,
speaking of, I want to transition here a little bit to caddy talk since this is the topic of the night. Did you catch the interaction between Minwoo and his caddy coming down the stretch
when they were under the tree?
Yeah, was that not the craziest thing? Like the caddy was emphatic of just this is never the shot. That's never the shot.
Yeah.
Like, and it honestly probably never was. Like it's just some players rely on caddies, some don't, and then some like he also called Minwoo off. I think it was on the last hole or second to last hole of just like, hey, hold on a second, there's wind. So like to have that kind of interaction and that kind of trust, you don't see that very often. Or you could look at it as the other way and say that he relies too much on the caddy,
Well, how does that relate to what Bones said about the veto card?
That was, I'm glad that got brought up in that during that round, because I think what Bones was getting at is he deserved more than just one veto a year.
Probably I like your idea about the challenge flag.
Yeah, if you get two right, you earn a third one. There's you've got something cooking there, right? I mean, but it's different with every player. You gotta. That's what makes it such a great relationship, is knowing when to say something and when not to say something. Because I told Andy when he was hitting that shot, I was like, "Are you sure we got a shot here?" Just to kind of like. I knew it wasn't the shot, and then he still hit it anyway, and he was like, that's not the shot. That was not the shot. That was dumb, or whatever. And that's what got us talking about the veto thing. So, yeah, that was good. I mean, Andy did a great job of teeing up Bones one after another of just great questions. And actually, Andy's crew, I think it was Matt, that teed up the first question about if you had any superstitions, and that's where that ball number 2 story came from. So that was good.
That's just a great.
That was gold.
Story. Yeah. I just thought that I think Bones, he's a great storyteller, but I think he's also a man of few words.
He is.
I think like it's like as a caddy, you have to be super efficient with your words. Mm-hmm. Like at that level. And then you think about the guys that he's caddied for, Mickelson, like the ultimate gambler, risk taker, in golf history. And that's part of the reason why we love watching him, because he just rode that very, very thin line. But like, think about being his caddy week in and week out for decades, right? Thinking about like knowing what to say, and wanting to protect the thing that makes your player great, but also time like knowing when to interject and when not to interject, and knowing what to say and what not to say. I think like you could just tell he's been so well rehearsed in that. I think that's really, really cool. I mean, that's something that I, probably would have taken for granted if I hadn't seen it, firsthand in that video.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. That's exactly how it went. He was very soft-spoken, and, he did a masterclass job. It was so fun to watch. I'll always cherish that memory.
So how's your pacing?
It's been good. Yeah, that's another thing I forgot that came from that video. I've been practicing that a little bit. I have a little bit of a struggle getting the stride, as Bones has the opposite problem, I think, because he's got those long legs. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been getting it dialed in. It's been fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we got a big summer coming up. We'll see you out there. I mean, people are going to be asking you for your autograph now. This is going to be crazy.
Yeah, we'll see. Happy to do it. It's what I love to do. So, it's
All
fun.
right. Well, let me let you go so I can get this thing out. I'm going to probably drop it later tonight, but most folks will probably see it tomorrow morning. Is episode 41 with Coach Limbaugh.
Sounds good.
All right.
See you,
Thanks,
Jay.
Joseph. See you, everybody.